This movie gets 5 bananas out of 5 according to the NoMoreStinkyMonkeys.com website, which makes it a classic. I'm glad I went to see this movie opening weekend, because I hardly knew anything about the story and would hate to have someone ruin the good parts for me. Until about a year ago, when I first saw the trailer for this film, I'd never heard of the Watchmen comic book. Excuse me, graphic novel, which is really French for long comic book. But the unbridled passion people had for it made me sit up and take notice. And the director, Zack Snyder, had made 2 great movies already, the remake of Dawn of the Dead and last year's 300. So you had to figure the material was in excellent hands, and you'd figure right. What a remarkable achievement of cinema and storytelling, making a whole new world come to life. It is 1985 in an alternative universe, mostly taking place in New York City, where President Nixon is serving his 5th term and superheroes are plentiful for at least the past 50 years. And yet no explanation is given of where they get their powers from. Now, after serving Nixon so well over the previous 17 years, the president has decided to outlaw these masked Avengers, and a serial killer is out there killing them one by one. This generation of masked men who are now in hiding include Night Owl, a version of Batman. I assumed all the superheroes in the story would mirror a superhero from a different comic book, but other than Night Owl, they all have their own personalities. And unlike any other superhero that's been brought to the silver screen before, these guys are flawed people who occasionally hurt the innocent and kill the guilty. I thought that The Dark Knight was the darkest comic book movie ever made, but Watchmen makes Dark Knight seem as dark as a Jetsons episode. There are scenes in this film that are not meant for any child to watch, and it wears its R rating like a badge of honor. One character attacks the Viet Cong and makes them explode inside out. It's sort of shown in the trailer, but it's much more graphic than I was expecting. And another supposed hero actually has homicidal tendencies and is criminal with the ladies. Finally, there's my favorite character in the movie, Rorschach, who wears a mask that resembles a Rorschach test. It constantly changes patterns on his face like it is somehow matching his mood. If you want the really tough work done, he's your man. He's probably certifiably insane, but he has a good heart and just wants justice served. One scene involves Rorschach in prison, and it's the very best in the entire movie, and caused the audience to cheer, applaud loudly, and laugh maniacally. He may be my favorite superhero ever, and he is played by former child star Jackie Earle Haley. You remember him as Kelly Leak, the motorcycle-riding tough kid from the Bad News Bears. He's small, but what a force to be reckoned with. And speaking of forces to be reckoned with, director Zack Snyder draws us into this universe by showing us TV events and characters that were very much 1985. His choice of music is exciting but sometimes obvious. Showing a montage of the Watchmen through the years, he plays Bob Dylan's The Times They Are Changing. Now, I'll grant you, he's not much for subtlety, but he is big on going for the meat of the action and not making us wait and beg. I was extremely tired walking in and was afraid that I'd feel sleepy, but there was no threat of that. This movie starts off like a powder keg exploding. From the opening scene, it keeps you focused even while the final credits roll. A feat in itself, considering its 2-hour and 40-minute length. My only problem is that the ending was not what I expected at all. Now, it was not wrong, and it was not bad. In fact, it makes sense in a philosophical way, but it was not something I could live with if I was one of the characters. Even though a dog or an animal is not involved, I kind of compare it to the feeling you have at the end of Old Ella. Oh, it won't make you cry, but it'll certainly make you cringe. This movie will be extended to 4 hours on DVD, and I'm looking forward to it. I paid $15 for the chance to see this in IMAX, and the overwhelming screen made the experience even more grand. A 4-hour version might serve this story well. There's so much more I want to learn about these characters. And while it definitely leans towards a conservative point of view, for instance, Night Owl talks about taking care of Woodward and Bernstein, whatever that means. Why can't that point of view be represented? Liberal points of view are constantly thrown at us in our entertainment, especially in films like Batman. So, smile from the Predator.